About a year ago, I got a phone call from a friend who lives in Bergenfield named Andrew, and he asked for the home address of a family here at Avos Torah, the Chilags, Sarah and Shaya Chilag. I asked why, and he told me the following remarkable Avos Torah story. He told me that earlier that day, in the morning, he got up and he was readying to go to Shachris, or readying to go to Minyan, and he was looking for his tefillin, and he couldn't find them anywhere. He turned his house upside down. He turned his car inside out. He went back to shul, where he had davened the previous day. Nowhere. And after resigning himself to the fact that his tefillin were gone, obviously with a lot of pain, he called his sofer and he started getting things in motion to have a new pair of tefillin made, to purchase a new pair of tefillin. A few hours later, he went to his office and received a phone call. His administrative assistant told him there's a young man on the line. You don't know him, but he has something of yours. And of course, Andrew, hearing this, knew exactly what the call was about. So who was this young man? It was Ezra Chilag, Sarah and Shaya Chilag's son, 15 years old at the time. He was driving down, his mother, Sarah, was driving, and Ezra was in the car, driving down Newbridge Road in Bergenfield, and he saw something from the corner of his eye. And he said, "Mom, stop the car. Mom, stop the car." And so Sarah pulled over. Ezra jumped out, and lo and behold, he picked up what proved to be Andrew's tefillin. In the bag, there were business cards. Business cards led them to Andrew's work number, connected them. They called Andrew. Andrew was enormously relieved, told them where his home was in Bergenfield. They went, they dropped it off. Andrew's wife was home at the time, and she received the tefillin. In Parshas Teitzei, the Torah tells us that when you see a lost object, your friend's lost animal or lost object, hashev tishivim la'achicha, you shall certainly return it to your brother. But the Torah does not stop there with the positive commandment to return. It also tells us, lo suchal lehisalim. There's a negative commandment associated, which we might colloquially refer to or translate as, you can't ignore the lost object that you saw. But the word lehisalim is actually, it's much deeper than that. It's much more profound than that. Lehisalim is reflexive. It means to will yourself, to make yourself as if you had not seen it. Not just klapi chutz, not just externally, not just, pretending so that no one recognizes that you saw it and you ignored it, but even to yourself. Right? How often do we see something, whether it's a lost object or whether it's kal v'chomer, a friend who is really in need, or an organization and a cause that is in need of our help and our resources, and we know that if we thought about it, we would be drawn to do something. It touches us, we want to intervene, we want to help, but we just don't have the bandwidth. And so we pretend, not just for other people, but for ourselves, we just pretend like, I didn't see that. I can't deal with that right now. And the Torah is responding to that exact, very natural psychological response and telling us sometimes, or whenever you have a situation like that, you have to learn how to say, stop the car. You have to learn how to say, Mom, stop the car. And you're going to a social gathering, some social responsibility, you're going to a meeting, you're going to hockey practice, whatever you're doing, you have to learn how to pull over, to redirect the arc and the trajectory of your day and your time. You have to make the time to intervene and to make the situation right. That is what the Torah is telling us. Lo suchal lehisalim. Stop the car. I'll conclude by reading the very powerful letter that Andrew was then able, I gave him the address, and he sent this letter to the Chilags. So I'm going to read it to you. Dear Sarah and Ezra, a day later, and I'm still in awe of both of you. I've told this story to countless people in the past 24 hours, and people are shocked by it. I've been wondering why Hashem wanted me to lose my talis and tefillin. Perhaps it's because Hashem wanted you two to find it. You're obviously amazing people that Hashem would orchestrate. You are meriting this incredible mitzvah. After you left my home yesterday, my wife called me on FaceTime and proceeded to unwrap the tefillin with me watching. And when it was clear that miraculously they were fine, I began to weep in my office uncontrollably. The emotion of having my tefillin back was so raw and intense. After davening this morning, people came over to me while I was wrapping my tefillin, as I had posted on the Beth Abraham email list and Teaneck Shuls. So people knew I had lost my tefillin, and I told them the story, and I realized why I cried. I've put on my tefillin every day for 23 years. It's a mitzvah I take seriously, and it's meaningful, but like many daily tasks, it's somewhat rote, automatic, and without much conscious meaning. But subconsciously, it is much more. It's a deep and profound connection between me and Hashem, and between me and my father, my grandfather who purchased the tefillin for me, and my grandmother who made my tefillin bag, and all of my ancestors before me who dutifully wore tefillin every day. Having lost them and then miraculously found them, and without any significant damage, brought the subconscious to the forefront. 23 years of emotion that was accrued every single day, but deposited away, was finally withdrawn. These small tokens are not inadequate, referring to the gifts that he gave them, small gifts, are not adequate enough to thank you. But rest assured that I will think of both of you constantly, and I will tell your story to my children, and it will be passed along as part of my family lore. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Very truly yours, Andrew. Do not will yourself to not see. Lo suchal lehisalim. I wish you and your families a very meaningful Shabbos.